Somebody told me that this week's guest is Dave Keuning.
This is Anyone Can Play Guitar, the podcast for musicians and music lovers that takes you behind the scenes of the music industry.
This week is brought to you in partnership with MGR Music. Ever wanted to learn an instrument, hone your skills, or pick up something completely new? You can get so far by yourself, however professional guidance can make all the difference. With a network of tutors right across the UK and rates starting from as little as £15 per hour, visit mgrmusic.com now to get started.
Hello and welcome to episode 82 and our final guest of season 2 with me, Ben, and him,
James.
So before we get into our final guest, James, which is Dave Keuning of the Killers, and Keuning, here's a snippet from last week's episode with John Newman.
And then, I just went in and I said to her, look, I generally have no interest whatsoever in being in the boy band. I don't even want to hear about it. I don't want to know about it.
Yeah.
I was like, I just know that you've got my ticket out of here.
Want a little fact before we get going, James? About our two guests, Dave Keuning this week and John Newman last week?
Give me a fact.
Their respective wives went to school together.
Yes, you did tell me that.
Yeah.
That's a bizarre set of events to...
It certainly is. This whole thing is a bizarre set of events.
Yeah. But there you have it.
Yeah, there you do have it.
Yeah.
So, another fact, James. I caught Dave on my daughter's birthday.
Not literally, I hope.
What do you mean, not literally?
You caught him.
Oh, I didn't literally catch him. No,
Good.
I didn't. But...
that would have been interesting.
It would have been. So I was backstage at Newcastle Academy again, this time with Dave Keuning and his new band Keuning, which we talk about. We also talk about his previous band, The Killers, how they got started, a little bit about location, why a smaller city may be beneficial to a more obvious city, something we spoke about before.
Yeah.
And it was just great to talk to someone who has
been in one of the biggest bands in the world.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about Jimmy Eat World being the start of my university. Hot Fuzz was the album that kind of finished my university. And up and down the country, every Friday and every Saturday at indie clubs and weddings and 21st birthdays and 40th birthdays, there will be many, many people singing Mr Brightside.
Indeed. He's so grounded, I think, is the really interesting thing. I mean, because that sort of success can impact people in any number of ways, but he was just so down to earth, and again, just like, here's the experience that I've had, here's what worked for me and why. And
it may work for you, it may not work for you.
But no, I found it really interesting. There's always, when you get a really big name on the show, it's sort of, well, what's it going to be like? Are they really going to give the sort of the insights that we want for our show? But I think he delivered.
Oh, totally, without a shadow of a doubt. I know throughout this season we've kind of went, and here's this up and coming guitarist and this little known band, but for us it was a massive deal. Every guest we have had is a massive deal for us, but I'm sure every guest would understand us going, this is the Killers.
Yeah.
Sold Wembley Stadium, sold out stadiums throughout football stadiums throughout the world, and Hot Fuzz, Mr Brightside, Human, the list goes on of the songs that they released that really have been a soundtrack for 15 years.
No, absolutely. So massive thanks to Dave.
Massive thanks to Dave, massive thanks to Ashley at the PR company, Anastasia from the PR company, and his tour manager Wyatt. But hope you enjoy the full episode and interview with Dave Keuning.
Remember, a great way to support the show is to go on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts and give us a rating and a review. It really does make a massive difference for the show. Now, on with the episode.
So, as I always do, I start the podcast without introducing the guest. We've got Dave Keuning here. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm happy to be in Newcastle, and thanks for having me.
Excellent. So when was the last time you were in Newcastle?
Probably with the Killers. I think we played one of the arenas here.
Yeah, cool. And this is the first UK tour for, I'm going to get this completely wrong, Prismism? Is that how you say it?
That's my album.
Yeah, is this the first UK tour for that?
Yeah, I just go under my last name, Keuning. That was a tough decision. I tried so many different band names that didn't stick, you know.
So what were you looking for in a band name when you were...
Well, the Killers is such a great band name.
Yeah.
And it's almost impossible to come up with anything half as good as that. But you remember it, it's easy, and I was just trying a lot of other, goofy names. I like other names that are, goofy, like Rainbow Kitten Surprise is like some band's name right now. I thought that was kind of funny, but just at least you remember it, if anything else. And it seemed like everything was taken or was too ridiculous for me to commit to, like, this is my name forever. So I just went with my last name because it's still a band name to me. It would be, if I went with my first name, it would be like just a me.
Yeah.
So that's why I did it that way.
Cool. I can understand that.
Yeah, it was. I'm not sure if I made the right decision, but that's okay. We can move on.
So, with the new album and the new tour, what's it like now, moving from the Killers into to Keuning? How's the steps or the transition been for you?
The transition, I mean, easy in some ways, but it's like starting over is what it's like.
Really?
Really, it really is. I mean, I suppose I have some advantages over other people, but not as many as most people would think. You really got to go around and say who you are again and be like, Keuning, no, that's me. I was the guy in the Killers, and this is a new thing I'm starting. And a lot of people know who the Killers is, but they don't know what Keuning is, let alone like it or not like it. That's fine for them. But first, I got to get it out there that this is my band, and then people can make a decision if they want to come. So it's like starting over with getting people familiar with your project or whatever.
And how would you describe then the new album? Your first album?
I think it's just very much me. I didn't want to stick to one thing. I was like, should I do sort of like something that sounds like the Killers or whatever? I was never going to do that on purpose, but I do like, new wave and 80s, but I also like guitar rock, and I had some mellower stuff in there too that I like to do, acoustic ones, and so I just decided to do it all and just take one song at a time. Right. Each song is its own thing, and that's probably how I'll proceed in the future too, because my favorite bands like Smashing Pumpkins and Queen and Led Zeppelin, even, they branch out in different directions. Zeppelin had acoustic ones, and they had plenty of rock, and especially in those first 4 albums, there was a lot of just classic rock. But they got into the weirder stuff, and I actually prefer Zeppelin's weirder stuff than to their classic rock stuff. Yeah.
Would you say like the physical graffiti type era, the double album?
Yeah. Stuff like No Quarter. That's some of my favorite stuff.
Yeah. I would actually say that your album does sound a little bit similar in the same vein as the Pumpkins' new album. Actually, now you mention that. Yeah, and that's a nice album too. I really like the Pumpkins album.
I do.
And I can really hear the new wave 80s parts to it as well, which also sound modern, if that makes sense.
That's kind of what I was trying to do. It's my influences are undeniable. I'm not gonna, they're there. I'm an 80s child, but I tried to be modern at the same time, if possible.
I think it works.
Yeah.
How about touring then? So you've got a new gang, a new band. How's that been?
These guys are great. They're from San Diego. I had a lot of friends to pick from, musician-wise, but the ones that live out of town, just it wasn't going to work. There was a lot of them were willing to do it, but then they'd have to travel in, and I can only get together this day and this day, and I'm like, it's location is everything. You
Right.
know, like they say, location.
Yeah.
It's just easier to have some people come over and found some good guys that live around town.
That's cool. So that's where you live now, isn't it, San Diego? So
Yeah.
what's it like for music in San Diego?
It's pretty good. It's such a laid-back town anyway. There's kind of a small scene, and I try and get out and see some of the younger bands because I know there's bands in San Diego like Louis XIV, Transfer, Nervous Records, and those bands that I already know, and then I keep going to those bands. But there's some newer stuff you got to look for. But, you know, it's not overwhelming. Like LA, there's so many different bands and places, and it's a bit of a tougher scene.
That's actually quite a nice little link into one of my areas I was going to talk about.
Yeah.
So we spoke to a band called Everything, which are actually from just outside Newcastle.
Okay.
And they moved to Manchester to make it, whatever make it means.
Yeah.
When traditionally people would go to London, as you can probably imagine.
Yeah.
So when I was looking at your story, Pella in Iowa, did I say that right?
Yeah.
Pella? Yeah, and going to Las Vegas, I think if you were going to look at the traditional route, you'd probably think, well, New York or LA. So why Las Vegas?
That's exactly what I thought when I was in Iowa, and I was like, I gotta get out of this state. I seek adventure. I seek more than this. And I had moved around Iowa, and I had met quite a few musicians in the Des Moines area, in the Cedar Rapids area, and the Iowa City area, and I felt like I had exhausted like all the options. So my plan was to move to LA. New York is completely intimidating. It still is, if not more so. Cause it's just ridiculously expensive. All the artists, by the way, are moving out of New York. That's no one can afford to live there anymore. But so it was going to be LA, and this actually sounds like really not a great answer, but the truth is that LA was too much for me too. So I like kind of settled for Vegas.
Okay.
I'd saved up my money, and I had I worked 2 jobs for about 4 months because I was on a mission to move out west. And I was looking online for apartments, and I had enough rent for about 2 months rent in plus the deposit in LA. But I had enough for about a year's worth of rent in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Because it was like a third or less of the rent.
Right.
And so it's like, you know what? It's not that far from LA. Maybe I'll just try Vegas because it seems like an exciting town. You know, Vegas.
It seems like a big adults playground.
Yeah, right. There's like all kinds of things going on there, and so it still seemed fun, and it just seemed surprisingly way cheaper to live. So I tried it out, and just one of those things that's where Brandon Flowers happened to live, and we eventually met after me meeting a few other musicians, and that worked out well for me. So that story might not work for everybody, but I would say this: don't be afraid to go to just like a medium-sized city.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the biggest one. It can be just a city that has a few places to play, as long as you can get out. Like there's places in Iowa where there's like nowhere to play, you know. But at least if you got a city that's medium-sized, you got a place. I think that's easier for bands these days to get by and work on their music, because I didn't want to be working like 50 hours a week and then try and be in a band. I'm like, how is this going to work? Vegas, I had a lot more time to write music with Brandon and work on stuff. So it kind of was a blessing in disguise.
Right. Yeah, actually that's really good, because you've answered one of my questions about what are the do's and don'ts. I guess one of the do's is just don't be afraid to do it and go into that medium, as you said, size town, city. Yeah. So anything, if you could go back to 2001, 2002 and tell yourself, don't do this, what would it be? I'm just trying to think of like when you were getting started.
I mean, there's definitely things I would do differently, but
I'm sorry, that's a hard question, because obviously you had massive success, so what wouldn't you do the same? But
I know, no, because it all worked out. So that's kind of besides a lot of little things, like maybe jobs I wouldn't have quit. I would have handled those things differently. But, well, it's funny because I leave out of this story a lot about how the Killers got started, that I moved to Vegas for a year, and then I moved to Chicago in the middle.
Right, okay.
It's like a footnote that's not important, but I moved to Chicago with my girlfriend at the time. We're like, okay, let's get out of Vegas. And I moved there. It was freezing cold. The rent wasn't as bad as New York, but it was about more than twice as much as Vegas. And I remember thinking, like, why did I move here?
Yeah.
It's absolutely freezing and costs more money.
Is Chicago classed as like a second city?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like after New York, it's considered like the second city.
Yeah.
That's kind of its nickname, and it's a great town if you have a little bit better way to get by than I did at the time.
Okay.
I was like just working at a furniture store, so if I could do it again and make a decent living, I like Chicago a lot actually.
Okay.
It's not fun if you're struggling, because then you're just taking the L train everywhere in like 10-degree weather half the year. But anyway, so we got in the car and just moved back. And had I not made that decision, then I don't know how the story of the Killers would have played out, because there was something just drawing me back. So, this isn't a bad answer to your question, but
No,
I guess
think it's a good answer. That's a
I
good
did do it right. It's like that was my mistake.
Yeah.
And I corrected it and moved back to Vegas.
Yeah, that's good. So I guess what the moral is, just go with what your gut instinct, I guess.
You're kind of your gut instinct.
Yeah.
Something was telling me to go back to Vegas, and I don't believe in fate.
No.
But it's weird. It just felt I needed to go back.
Whatever it was.
Whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it was the right decision.
So, again, this is probably quite a tricky question, but the positives and negatives of moving away, it's quite obvious in your story of just more people to play to and eventually finding the band. In that medium-sized city or town, was there many musicians that you could draw upon to form the band? I know there's the famous story of how you and Brandon met. How long did that process take to find the people you were looking for?
To answer your question, there was enough musicians in Vegas. It's more about getting out there and meeting people. What I found was that a lot of people in bands, because I would talk to bands in Vegas, they had already known each other for a long time. So they're playing with their childhood buddies on drums and bass and guitar. And it's actually interesting because that is sort of how the Killers were started, was because I didn't know anybody and I was an outsider. That's why I put out the ad that everyone talks about.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about me putting out the ad. Well, I did that because I didn't know anybody. So I just wanted to see who would reply, and then Brandon replied, and then we had to, borrow Mark from another band and borrow Ronnie from another band, and we had other bass players and drummers before those guys, actually. We had a couple different bass players and a couple different drummers that, for whatever reason or another, didn't work out. Mark and Ronnie, of course, were really good, and we wanted to keep them forever when we got them. But it's just good, no offense to those guys. It's good to get out there and meet people and try people and do that, because I didn't have the advantage of knowing people already in Vegas, And it's the other thing is a lot of the good musicians don't reply to those ads. Those ads don't usually work, actually. They really don't. Most of the good musicians don't look at those, and they're already in bands, and you got to get out there and just kind of watch bands, and then maybe you'll find a drummer who is ready to try a different band, because that's what drummers do. They always band hop to the next best band.
They're a rare commodity, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I suppose that's a really good way of looking at it, because the band I was in, we were close friends for years. James and I were close friends since school. Yeah. And that really helps get that gang mentality. But I guess if you're looking at it from a music professional business sense, it's having that same mindset of coming together, as in, you're great, I'm great, let's get together and create something great.
Yeah.
So I suppose there's two ways of looking at it. So that's a really good lesson of just putting yourself out there. You don't know who's going to be there, do you?
Yeah.
Can work out.
I would say my advice would be, don't be too picky.
No.
Because
we certainly wouldn't.
You're never going to find the exact guy you're looking for that has the right look and has the exact same musical taste as you.
Yeah.
Brandon and I did not have the same musical taste, but we had a lot that crossed over. Like, both loved 80s, both loved Oasis, and a lot of that stuff, even though I like, a little bit more of the heavy 90s stuff and the heavy 80s stuff on guitar, because I'm a guitar player.
Yeah.
But then we matched on a lot of stuff too.
This week is brought to you in partnership with MGR Music. Ever wanted to learn an instrument, hone your skills, or pick up something completely new? You can get so far by yourself, however, professional guidance can make all the difference. With a network of tutors right across the UK and rates starting from as little as £15 per hour, visit mgrmusic.com now to get started. Charity of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Dave himself.
Well, I can't decide between
You can do two.
between the animal cruelty funds I've donated to stop it, because I love animals. I'm not full PETA because I have some leather here and there, and that's hard to avoid. But I do care about animals very much, and I'm very much against any sort of cruelty to animals and helping out animal shelters who kill animals every week. It's rough. But global warming almost seems more urgent.
Yeah.
Or there ain't going to be any animals to
Protect.
be on the planet either way. So
Yeah.
people need to kind of start realizing it's something we got to deal with before it's too late. And I don't have the solution to the problem, but we all got to try and do something. To buy solar panels or recycle more or use gas less.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
It's a big topic, yeah.
in 10 years from now, we might be having a different conversation, and it might be like 30 degrees warmer or something. Who knows?
Well, that's great causes, and we'll put links into various charities that we can highlight for that.
It's not uncommon for musicians to be extremely fond of animals and their welfare. The website to go to if you want more information is PETA.org. PETA.org. Back to the episode.
One of the things I wanted to talk about, and I hope that someone listening to this is in a band who this happens to them, but like massive success. You can't deny how successful the Killers were. I mean, so 2005, 2006 were the biggest band in the world, really, sales-wise, tickets-wise. To your average person who doesn't really follow music as closely, it probably looks like it's overnight, but it's never overnight. We know that. It takes a lot of gigs, it takes a lot of travel. But I suppose that switch from playing to 100 people to 1,000 people to Wembley Stadium probably is quite quick. How do you deal with that type of success?
It sneaks up on you like as it's happening. Like Hot Fuss was a great tour, but we really what I remember is how we started small because we were doing before the album came out, so no one really knew us. We did all those, and we just gradually grew from the small bars to the big bars to the House of Blues, and then by the end of that tour, it took to the end of Hot Fuss where we were playing a couple stadiums here and there, and then when we came back on Samstown, it was all stadiums after that, and so it just happened gradually. And looking back now, of course, now I'm playing the small places, and just realize how fortunate it was that it just doesn't work that way for everybody. But I think I just did fine as long as you're not shy. When you're prepared to play and you play so many gigs, I wasn't afraid to do it really. Yeah. It's just playing every night for so long.
It just becomes second nature, I guess.
I'm more comfortable up there than I am in like interviews or public speaking. Right. Like that's hard.
Well, actually, that's quite a nice lead on to the next bit, and that's talking about fans. So obviously, fans are your boss more than anything. I suppose a record company you could class as the boss, but without fans. And I suppose now playing the Academy 2 here in Newcastle, you probably get to interact with the fans more. Yeah. How was that transition going from tour bus to a secluded area to Wembley Stadium to then back like, let's have a chat and meet the fans? And
I like it. I like it just fine. I mean, the Killers would do an occasional small show too on purpose, and that was always fun. Mm-hmm. Now I'm doing these because that's all I can do, of course. But I like it. I like to meet the fans and play up close, and it reminds me of the old days of the Killers. So that's kind of fun for me too.
And do you interact with fans as well on social media and stuff like that?
I do
that's like a new
actually.
thing now, isn't it? Like compared to when the Killers started, social media, it is the world, isn't it? Really.
So I do interact with fans. Instagram probably more than most. I'm not super active on Facebook or Twitter, but I like Instagram, and some people tell me I shouldn't do it like, oh, you shouldn't. That's you can. You might say something wrong. You might do this, and then the fans go and report. I've actually already done that a couple times. I've like said something that someone misinterpreted about another band, and then they ran off and told, he said he doesn't listen to your music, and I was like, well, I wasn't sure who you were talking about at the time, but
yeah,
things like that can happen. But I usually interact with fans. The danger is sometimes I get a lot of messages, and then I don't reply, and then they're like, hey, you replied to the last one, but not this one. It's like, well, I get to them when I can get to them.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'm just a bit conscious of time there.
Sure.
It's a busy night, so just a couple of things.
You're fine, but
well,
I know you got a busy night too.
Cool.
But,
we're into festival season soon.
Yep.
How's the festival season looking for yourself? Do you have many booked in? English festivals, European, American?
For Keuning, I have, let's see, I have Kaboo in San Diego in September. That'll be a lot of fun. That'll be so you're creaking the door, man. The Kaboo Festival will be a lot of fun in Del Mar in September, right in my hometown. Looking forward to that one. I have Hinterland in Iowa. That's where I grew up, of course.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot of fun. One in August. And there's a Mexico City show now, or festivals in November that I'm looking forward to. So I got a few that will be a lot of fun. If I could just play festivals, I'd probably be fine just playing festivals. Those are my favorite thing to do.
Yeah. Any particular reason why you like festivals?
Just, I think I like that you don't get a sound check.
Yeah.
You just go up there and you just do it.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of an atmosphere of looseness, and you're just kind of hanging with other bands and watching other bands, and it's also nice that you get a bigger crowd because some people are just kind of wandering in from other stages, and so maybe some other people get a chance to see you, and it's fun for everybody.
Amazing. I can't, as a guitarist, not talk to another guitarist about guitars.
Sure.
So I read today about how it's noted that people compare your style to Andy Sumner from Police. Would you agree with that?
I don't disagree. I've heard that obviously before. I think some of it might be just from like comparing Brightside to something like Every Breath You Take or something.
Maybe, yeah.
Because we both do use some ninths here and there. I try not to think about actually what chords I'm playing, whether it's a ninth or seventh. I just kind of like find chords I like and roll with them. And I think we both maybe think a little bit outside the average box the way things people do, and maybe that's what it is.
Maybe. I actually did see the same thing, that you influence of Bernard Sumner from New Order and Billy Corgan. I would probably agree with that more personally. Whoever wrote I don't disagree with the Police thing, but I would agree with especially in the new stuff, I would say that sound that could fit around the 87, 89 New Order stuff.
For sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But it can't be bad when Total Guitar say that Mr Brightside is the 9th out of the top 50 best riffs in the 21st century. I mean, that's pretty cool.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay, that's brilliant. I mean, a lot of good stuff, but what we do like to do at the end is two things. I've got some quick questions.
Sure.
We've just introduced recently. So there's 5 quick questions, and this one always stumps a songwriter.
Okay.
Question 1 is, out of all the songs ever written, which one do you wish you'd written?
Seven Nation Army.
Really? It's an excellent choice.
That's the biggest riff ever right now.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know where you ranked it, but in my opinion, that's like just the fact that it's sung at sports stadiums now all around the world. I envy that.
Yeah, that's cool. And which artist, Meg, do you want to become an artist?
I guess as I get older, I'd like to turn into Leonard Cohen.
Right.
Like write better lyrics. You know, if my lyrics were anywhere close to his, I'd be happy and do that kind of music.
Wonderful. What was the first album you ever fell in love with?
Oh, well, Thriller. That's still okay to say that. It's the honest answer.
Well, it's the honest answer, yeah. First gig you ever went to?
The Beach Boys with my parents.
Wow. We went, James and I saw Brian Wilson, was it last year or the year before? Still got it. He did Pet Sounds in its entirety. It was something special, really.
Yeah, he's good.
And the last thing is, out of everything, why do you do this? What is the main reason to continue doing this?
I just always loved music.
Mm-hmm.
But even before I had a guitar, like you said, I liked Michael Jackson, I liked Duran Duran, and back when I was a kid. And I used to kind of like sing along to the words, and then I would start like making up parts. I guess that's sort of like a prelude to being a musician or something, because I was kind of singing different parts and then that's kind of what you do when you're a musician. You start doing that on guitar, keyboard, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I there's times where I'll like won't be very musically active for a few months, and then if I pick up a guitar, I like remember why I liked it so much, and I don't think I'll ever be able to stop that urge to do something.
So Dave Keuning, thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to seeing the gig later.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you.
So what a way to finish the season, James.
What a way, yes. A fantastic way to round things off.
Yeah.
I think it's been a very good season 2.
Yes, it has. So, yeah, we could probably talk about another 15-20 minutes about how good the episode was in an interview with Dave, and how good the show was that night that we went and saw. But simply, thank you very much to Dave. Thank you very much to every guest we've had this season. There will be an outro episode next week.
Yep, next week we'll sum things up and review the whole season as it's been, and give a bit of a insight into what might come next for the show.
Thank you very much for listening, and we will also speak to you next week.
All of the show notes for today's episode can be found at acpgmusic.com, along with our back catalogue of episodes. If you like what you hear, or perhaps have some improvements or specific guests you'd like us to consider, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at info@acpgmusic.com or hit us up on social media. Keep supporting upcoming artists, and we'll catch you next time.